sees the means of production, and the like and subscribe button.
They send in the bill higher for the most part. This is true with lawyers, legal fees. When they send in legal fees, I can cut. I wish I had the time. I would save so, but I could cut these bills in half, much better than half. But you offer people a much lower number because you know they actually put fat. I'm not even saying it's like a way of business. They put more on because they expect to be negotiated. When you send in a bill to the government, there's nobody to negotiate.
Yes.
You send in a bill for $10,000 and they send you a check back for $10,000. If you would call them and said, we'll give you 5. No, 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 I need more than 5. We'll give you 5. I'm not going to pay any more than 5. Make it 6. No, I'm not going to make it 6. And you'll settle for $5,500. You've just cut the bill almost in half. And it took like 2 minutes. But none of that's
Someone call that the art of the deal?
But that's caring. No, it's not even the art of the deal. It's caring. He uses the word. It's caring.
Yeah.
It's a certain competence, but I think it's more caring than competence.
If you add either ingredient, either competence or caring, you'll get a better outcome. But it stands to reason that if you don't have competency, you don't have caring, you're going to get a terrible deal. And the problem is that the American taxpayers can...
Just as somebody who's been following Trump for what feels like a very long time now, the idea of Trump promoting a strategy for negotiation in prices that is not the art of the deal is absolutely insane to me. That shit has been like a core component of Trump's identity for decades. It has been like it's like a catchphrase. Like, even if you haven't read it, and I haven't read it, it's like a component of his public identity. You know? And for him to go like, no, 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 this isn't the art of the deal. This is the new Elon thing. This is the new Elon thing. You know, what happened to my goat?
Been getting a terrible deal because look at the last administration. Can any reasonable person say that the last administration was either competent or caring?
But they lied to us and said that Joe didn't have a cognitive decline.
They fully lied.
They said the borders were closed. They said that the borders were secure. They said that, you know, they said Obama.
Well, they definitely did lie about the Joe Biden cognitive problem thing. That is certainly the case.
Obamacare would save.
They flat out lied.
They flat out lied.
Insane.
Oh, this is why Doge is so important. Senator Tim Scott. I'll keep that in mind. I'll keep that in mind.
Welcome back to Hannity, and we are in the Washington swamp.
We're in the home stretch.
For years, far-left bureaucrats burned through your hard-earned tax dollars on woke political causes, Green New Dealism, transgenderism, and, you know, even anti-American propaganda. Those days are now over. More of my interview with President Trump and Elon Musk. As I scroll this information, and I'll scroll a lot more than I'll mention to both of you, and this is the cost savings. I want people at home to understand this part. The average American makes $66,000 a year.
Yeah.
Okay? We have $37 trillion in national debt.
Yes.
Now, all the money I'm about to mention and what we're going to scroll on our screen, and all of this is going to foreign countries. It is not being spent here in America for better schools, law and order.
I think
it's aid. Yeah, it's literally foreign aid. That's like none of this foreign aid is being spent in America. Really? You're telling me?
Average tax-paying American should be mad as hell because their tax money is being poorly spent.
All right, let me go to the second question first.
I hate soft power. I hate it when people live and are happy. I hate spending pithy amounts of our GDP on preventing HIV from spreading to tens of millions of women and children who are affected by it in West Africa. I hate incentivizing nations to kowtow to us and be amenable to our business interests for a tiny fraction of the money we get from investing there. I hate it. I hate it.
I want to know, because people like Joni Ernst and
Joni Ernst has tried for a long time, and she's actually got a lot of good data. Senator Ernst has been really helpful, actually.
Okay, but they actually hide what the real purpose of the spending is. Sure. In other words, this is a question. How did you decipher? It will say humanitarian blah, blah, blah in Serbia or Afghanistan. We even give money to China, for crying out loud, which I think is nuts.
We'll give money to the Taliban.
What money to the Taliban?
Like a lot.
All right, so
I'm like, for what? But I want to see the pictures of what they did.
But they
for what? Shouldn't you know? You're the one dismantling all of this. Again, keep in mind that all of this aid that we provide, all of it's like publicly available. The American government is actually, for the most part, pretty transparent. It depends on the department, but they're pretty transparent with the money they spend, you know? You can literally, like, U.S. spending, you can see where all this money goes. Now, obviously, if you're trying to look up how the Pentagon spends its money, that's a little bit more difficult. But, you know.
Try to obscure it. But then you got to the bottom line, which is what I'm now scrolling on the screen.
Yes.
And that is $20 million on a Sesame Street show in Iraq, $56 million to boost tourism.
I hate American soft power. I hate using a tiny amount of money to develop American-based media and outreach in foreign countries so that their children grow up recognizing American cultural symbols and therefore becoming, like, you know, allegiant to the United States. What? You're telling me Iran controls Iraq? You're telling me Iran has disproportionate power over their neighboring country? Well, surely there was nothing we could have done to have stopped this. I don't think they understand what soft power is. No, I don't. I think, like, there's a lot of stuff they're doing that's for personal gain, but I genuinely think, in this case, they are too stupid to understand what soft power is. $3.5 to help the next generations of Georgia be civically engaged.
In Tunisia and Egypt.
I wonder, in what way does it benefit America to spend money in Georgia, encouraging their population to be more civically engaged? Is it possible that there might be a way in the future that this could benefit us? Like, I don't know, the population becoming increasingly resistant to Russian foreign occupation and breaking free and developing, like, business contracts with the United States. Again, like, look, I'm as anti-American empire as the next guy. I don't know if ceding it to other worse empires is necessarily preferable, but all of this is what American power looks like, you know? U.S. aid is a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of our spending.
$40 million to build schools in Jordan, $11 million to tell the Vietnamese to stop burning trash, $45 million for DEI scholarships in Burma, $520 million for consultant-driven ESG investments in Africa, DEI programs in Serbia. The president's
Just keep
favorite.
going.
I'm sure you love that taxpayer money was spent on a DEI musical in Ireland, or a transgender opera in Colombia, or a transgender comic book.
It sounds like how can these things be real? But this is actually what was done. It sounds like a comedy sketch or
I have
something.
20 pages of this.
Right. It's not.
Remember what I said before about the U.S. Postal Service, how it's not enough to just rely on a functional institution? You have to be an active advocate for it, like 24/7. Like, if you like something in society, you have to be a cheerleader for it nonstop forever. Because if you don't, malicious actors who want desperately to undermine that thing will lie about it. That's how I feel, you know? This is why the Democratic impulse to become more moderate will always fail, right? When faced with opposition, you need to become a cheerleader for everything that you love. You need to hold a 24/7 rally, proselytizing all of it. You know, you need to talk about it the way, you know, reply guys talk about their faves. You need to talk about it the way stans talk about their idols, the way priests talk about God. You have to go crazy for that shit.
Listen, my long.
If you had to put a number on it, how much do you think you've identified waste, fraud, abuse, corruption at this point? And again, we're going to be scrolling this throughout the program.
Well, the overall goal is to try to get $1 trillion out of the deficit, and if the deficit is not brought under control,
I thought the goal was $2 trillion. I'm almost positive the goal was $2 trillion. They bringing it down?
America will go bankrupt. This is a very important thing for people to understand. A country is no different from an individual in that if an individual overspends, an individual can go bankrupt, and so can a country. And the massive waste, fraud, and abuse that has been going on, which is leading to a $2 trillion a year deficit. That's what the president was handed on Jan 20th, a $2 trillion deficit. It's insane.
For this fiscal year.
Yeah, we inherited.
Yeah.
And inflation is back. I'm only here for 2.5 weeks.
That was January.
Inflation
You were
is
there for a
back.
week.
No, think of it. Inflation's back, and they said, "Oh, Trump inflation." I had nothing to do with it. These people.
Inflation was down for the entire last 18 months of the Biden presidency, and it ticks back up literally right as I assume office. Couldn't have been me. Couldn't have been me.
Have run the country. They spent money like nobody's ever spent. They were given $9 trillion to throw out the window. $9 trillion. and they spent it on the Green New scam, I call it. It's the greatest scam in the history of the country. One of them. We have a lot of them, I guess, but one of them. Dollar-wise,
and
probably.
DEI and wokeism and transgenderism.
Well, that's all part of it, yeah.
And LGBTQ+.
I feel like you should learn from your enemy here and maybe take a little lesson from the fact that Republicans have spent the past decade screaming about the Green New Deal, a thing that didn't happen, talking about it as though it did happen. And it really makes you reflect on, like, if there's no relationship between what I do and what they're going to attack anyway, wouldn't it make more sense to actively defend the things they're attacking me over? Like, has there been literally any positive outcome to Democrats being like, well, we didn't do Green New Deal, we abandoned it a decade ago? No. So why not just do the good thing anyway? Just do the good thing anyway, and then defend it. Because by not defending it, it makes it look like you're shifty, you're uncommitted. The average Republican thinks the Green New Deal did and was happening, and Democrats just refuse to acknowledge or own up to it or defend it.
Us. Yeah. By the way, not in America. Other countries, not here.
You know,
They said Kamala Harris was crazy woke. They said Kamala Harris was like super left-leaning pro-trans. She never mentioned trans people during the whole runabout after the DNC. She shut the up about them. It didn't matter.
The thing is when you see like the teaching of DEI, $9 million. How do you spend $9 million to teach? No matter what it is, you could teach physics.
Totally.
You could go to MIT for a lot less.
Expensive.
Yeah,
expensive.
The teaching of
expensive,
DEI.
Yes.
How much do you believe, Elon, you've identified in waste, fraud, abuse, corruption now, and how much do you anticipate you will?
Sure. Well, I think
1%. No, because it's so massive. This is huge money.
So what we found now is 1%.
We're just gotten started.
As good as they are, they're not going to find some contract that was crooked, crooked as hell. I mean, there's going to be so much that isn't found. But what is found, I think he's going to find $1 trillion.
Yeah, I think so.
But I think it's a very small percentage compared to what it is.
Let me go to an area that I think is key, and you talked about this in recent interviews, and that is we don't need a Department of Education, okay? And what some people are trying to do is stoke fears that, oh my gosh, my kid's not going to get the money for education, or grandma's Social Security and Medicare. This was a big promise of yours on the campaign trail. So I really...
How much is the total spending? Nobody knows how much Doge has actually cut because all of it has been illegal, only documented by Doge, and they're lying about what they've cut, and they're also falsifying government records to hide the trail of what they've cut. So it's possible that the next U.S. budget might be representative or unrepresentative, or it might like not describe the actual shift in the allocated, like all the numbers are fudged, so we actually have no idea. Apparently Elon is contemplating kicking every American citizen a $5,000 check, which if it was every American citizen, what would that be? Like 5,000 for like 200 million eligible people or so. I don't know if they're like giving it to kids or whatever. 200 million. I'm stupid. 100 billion? No, more than that. How much was it? Why can't they do math right now? 1,000 times 200 million is 200 billion. So 5 times 1 trillion? Yeah, that sounds good. I'm going to be the money president. I'm going to be the everyone. I'm going to give everyone lots of money. Yay. Only to Trump voters, though. Well, they would want to give it to everyone in order to like cement support, which the crazy thing is that would probably actually work pretty well to shore up support for the Trump administration up until the economic collapse.
I really want to give you both an opportunity to assure the American people you will keep, that money will be allocated for students, but with higher standards. For example, I would assume associated with monies given or
just
vouchers.
So much, and then Elon goes, but look, Social Security won't be touched, other than if there's fraud or something. We're going to find it's going to.
Other than if there's fraud, Social Security won't be touched unless, hypothetically, the retard shadow president next to me went on a tweeting spree alleging fraud in ways that revealed his inability to understand basic government programs and spreadsheets and stuff like that. And in that case,
be strengthened, but won't be touched. Medicare, Medicaid. None of that stuff is going to be touched.
Nothing.
Medicare's not going to be touched. Medicaid's not going to be touched. Even though they're literally already drafting plans to cut Medicaid and increase work requirements and stuff. Just nothing. Whatever. You think he's even in the know? You think he knows?
I
You
wanted
don't have to. Now, if there are illegal migrants in the system, we're going to get them out of the system and all of that fraud. But it's not going to be touched. School. I want to bring school back to the states so that Iowa, Indiana, all these places, Idaho, New Hampshire, there's so many places, the states, I figure 35 really run well. And right now it's Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, China. China, can you imagine, has top schools. We're last. So they have a list of 40 countries. We're number 40. Usually we're 38, 39. The last time we were number 40. And what I say is you got to give it back. So it doesn't work. I'll tell you what we're number one in, cost per pupil. We spend more money than any other country by far. It's not even close per pupil. Okay. So we know it doesn't work. So we spend the most and we have the worst.